Bill Gates is one of the most successful business and computer experts in the world. He started Microsoft Company at a very young age, one of the most successful business computer companies in the world. In addition to being one of the richest men in the world, he's also one of the most generous. He and his wife Melinda started the William H. Gates Foundation, which is amongst the most generous of charitable foundations today. We are very lucky and delighted to have Bill Gates with us today on the Electronics Daily News Show. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Electronic Daily News, the talk show that tells you everything you want, need, and hope to know about computer and electronics. Today, we are so very lucky to have with us Mr. Bill Gates. Good morning, Mr. Gates.
Hi, thanks for having me on your show today.
How are you?
I'm good.
Now, Mr. Gates, you're the president and founder of Microsoft. Can you tell us what Microsoft is? That's a name we all certainly know about. Can you tell us a bit about what the company does?
Well, Microsoft is a computer software company that my friend Paul Allen and I started. But a lot of people seem to not understand about Microsoft is that it doesn't make the actual computer, but it makes the stuff inside the computer that makes the computer does what it does.
So, would it be fair to say you make the smart stuff for the computer?
Yeah, you could say that.
And for a guy who makes the smart stuff that we use in our computers every day, I understand that you're a university dropout. Is that right?
Yes, it was a very hard decision because my whole family wanted me to stay in university. But university wasn't really the right thing for me. I wasn't going to any of the classes. I was skipping them to make software for the computer, so I just thought, why not make a career out of it?
You were only 20 years old when you left university and started Microsoft with Paul Allen. Looking back, do you think that was maybe a bit too young to be starting a company?
Well, nowadays it would seem really young, but back then when it was just the start of the computer industry era, I think it was the right age to start it, because if I had waited any longer, another company could have easily just came along and took all the business.
What was Bill Gates like as a kid? Can you tell us a bit about Bill Gates as a kid?
Well, while I was growing up, all through elementary school, I was known as a class clown. I didn't really try hard in any classes, and I didn't really care much for schoolwork. So in grade 8, my parents switched me to an exclusive all-boys private school, and that's where I made my first real friends.
When you switched from the public school to an exclusive all-boys school, I imagine that must have been quite a transition. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, it was a pretty big transition, but I was kind of excited because I looked at it as a new start for me, because in the public school I didn't really have a lot of friends. And when I switched to the private school, I discovered something that I truly loved, computers. But at the time, the computers were the size of refrigerators.
And in addition to discovering computers, you met two other young boys who became very, very good friends. The three of you became very close friends. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, I met Paul Allen, which everybody knows. He's the co-founder of Microsoft. And Kent Evans. Most people don't know Kent Evans because he died in grade 10 from a mountain climbing accident. It was a very sad time for me when Kent died, but he still remains to this day one of the people that have greatly affected my life.
Tell us a bit about what it felt like to become one of the richest men in the world.
Well, it was a great feeling because I grew up as a normal person, and then suddenly I was the richest man in the world. But at an early part of my career, I decided that if I ever became really rich, that I would try to be different and not be like most rich people, arrogant and obnoxious. So my wife and I, Melinda, started the William H. Gates Foundation, which gives money to worthy causes around the world.
And today, looking back on your career and Microsoft's evolution, what would you say is Microsoft's biggest accomplishment?
I would have to say Microsoft's biggest accomplishment would be Windows. Because Windows really changed what computers are to this day. They introduced multitasking. Before that, you couldn't have two programs running at the same time. So you would only be able to have your Word document open. You couldn't have the internet open.
What advice would you give someone today to become as successful as you are?
Well, first off, you have to work hard. If you don't work hard, then you'll get nowhere in life. Secondly, you have to never give up. When Paul Allen and I were in our first year of Microsoft, we were working very hard, but we weren't actually making that much money. We didn't give up, and then suddenly IBM gave us a call and said that they were coming out with their first personal computer and they needed someone to make their software for the computer. And that's where Microsoft really took off. And the last thing you need is to always follow what your heart tells you. I left university because I really didn't feel like it was the place for me, and look where I am today.
Well, thank you very much for coming in, Mr. Gates. But just before leaving, I have to ask you, Steve Jobs has come out with the iPad. What's Microsoft's next step?
Well, you have to wait and see.
Well, we will. Thank you very much, Mr. Gates.
Thanks for having me.